But I want to start the hour with the latest on the trade war whiplash, the back and forth. Markets seem to like it for today, but President Trump certainly changing his tone on China and on the tariffs and on the Fed Chair, Jerome Powell, who he apparently doesn't want to fire, and all the warnings from Wall Street. So we'll get into that as we wait for the president with Chris Sununu, the former Republican governor of the state of New Hampshire, and NewsNation correspondent-at-large, Geraldo Rivera. This is one of the all-time great panels here, so I hope the president doesn't start early. We've got Sununu and Geraldo. Governor, you want to take it first on that? We had it live on the show last night. He came out and says, I said, oh, fire Jay Powell? Of course not. Where did you guys get that idea? And so that the market like that, and then the China. This is different. The last 24 hours on China. What's going on, Governor?
Well, look, I have no doubt the president wants to fire Powell, but I think he knows, and his advisors have told him, that he really cannot, and it would send everything into a tailspin because it really cracks that third wall of political partisanship that you don't want the Fed Reserve, theoretically, to be involved in. So I'm sure he wants him gone, but he's actually smart enough not to do it. Look, my whole thing with tariffs is this. While I don't love the plan, it's having a change. Saying America is going to be put on top of the world, that's fine. You just can't jerk the wheel and slam on the brakes all at once, because you know what happens? Everyone in the car gets a bloody nose when that happens, right? So they're just going a little too hard, a little too fast, and it isn't so much Trump, it's his team. His team isn't, I think, appreciating the methods and the messaging that have to go along with this to make sure they carry the market with them. I think what you saw today was a little more of an appreciation that methods and messaging have to be played. They need an off-ramp here to our current strategy and to get into a new lane, not just slamming the brakes on.
And why did they need that? Geraldo, I was thinking of you the night he came out with the tariffs. Remember, he was in the Rose Garden holding up that chart. You said, well, I could see this if those numbers are real, or if we can believe those numbers. And it turned out from that point on, a lot of people, even people on the president's side, started to question the numbers. And from what we understand this week, he met with like a bunch of CEOs. They came in and said, Mr. President, we're going to have some issues here. Like there'll be empty store shelves. Prices are going to go up if you don't do something. You have real problems. So he's changing his tune. What do you make of it, Geraldo?
I think that they are really so paranoid about this 100-day artificial monument, his first 100 days, and feeling forced to do something. That's why I think you're seeing this cycle of extraordinary appearances by President Trump at 5 o'clock. It's like he's programming his activities to be on your show, Connell.
I know, right?
He's there like every day. He's trying to drive the news cycle with these appearances, and he's testing it in real time. He saw the catastrophic result of that last week when the markets just tanked and cost everybody, including you, truly a lot of money. But he's frustrated. He's frustrated because of Gaza's continuing. Ukraine, he's up against a rock and a hard place in Ukraine. Musk is looking like he wants to get out of town. There's graffiti on all his cars all over. Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense, in trouble in the Pentagon. Chaos is the word of the day. So I think that he's got a lot of things he's trying to manage with PR, and I don't know whether it's going to succeed. One thing I do know is that the 100-day, anniversary, so to speak, is really very fraught with downside rather than upside.
What do you make of that chaos argument, Governor? Because, we were led to believe coming into Trump 2.0, Susie Wiles, Chief of Staff, more disciplined. We got it. We're on it this time. You're not going to see the issues you had the first time. And now there's like all the stuff Geraldo mentioned. Axios had a report. I don't know if you saw it today. I don't even know why I'm chuckling a little bit. But they said that Elon Musk and the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, nearly came to blows there right outside the Oval Office. And then, more broadly. What do you say?
I don't think it's chaos as much as it is just look at what they're trying to cram in to the 100 days. There's just so much going on. Every day there's not one story. There's literally like 5 or 6 stories they're trying to manage. Now, I think on the whole, a lot of what they're doing is good. And I go back to the messaging piece, trying to message this with a press that is never going to be very friendly to you, and with a team that might have the right ideas, but a lot of his team don't have the right management experience, right? Hegseth's chief of staff is a great example. Anytime your chief of staff is in the news, you're doing something wrong, right? They're supposed to be the behind-the-scenes operators.
What about Hegseth himself?
Peter Navarro and Marin, like, these guys are supposed to be behind the scenes, just making it all work, driving on the president's agenda, but they're ending up in the front of the car here. And so from a management standpoint, with all that's going on, I think that's the biggest problem. Now, to Geraldo's point, it's a great point. This first 100 days has given you and the media and all of us so much to talk about. What is the next 1,000 days going to look like? I mean, are we going to keep up this torrent pace? I mean, that would just be incredible, frankly. But to his credit, he's not afraid to say, this is what I want to do. I'm not going to wait around. I waited on Congress the first term. They didn't get anything done. I'm going to push as hard as I possibly can to get the changes I want. And again, it's frustrating for a lot of folks who don't agree with a lot of these pathways and strategies for him, but at least he's doing something. And in that respect, I do appreciate it from a management standpoint.
So I have some numbers, like on the tablet, guys, you can pop up the approval numbers. You see the first on the charts in terms of where he's been going. So this is Reuters, and you see the start of his second term, and you see Biden versus Trump there. Biden's on the right in blue, Trump in red. And then if you look at actual numbers, how do you feel about the president's job performance, Geraldo? I mean, not great, right? Overall, especially to someone early in a term to be at 53% disapproval. And the thing that stands out to me is he's underwater on the economy, and he's about even on immigration. I mean, those are his best issues, especially the economy. We've never seen. Trump struggled before, but we've never seen numbers like this in the economy for him. Why is that, Geraldo?
I'm surprised that actually the numbers on the economy are surprising, given the gyrations that he inflicted with his statements about removing Chairman Powell. One thing for sure, Connell, is that President Trump has tested the limits of his power. Now he knows he can't mess with an institution like the Fed. He can go, go after governors. All due respect, Governor. Go after, others in Congress. But you can't mess with the guy who's making sure that the dollar is still worth a dollar and that it stands up against other currencies. So I think that has been a real valuable lesson for the president. Some people bailed on the market. Others did not. It stabilized somewhat the last couple of days. If we go on and it stabilizes and he just keeps his mouth shut, the president, about Chairman Powell, let him. He's the inflation fighter. He's doing a good job, a pretty good job of it, recently. Let him, not recently. He steered the course. And, and the dollar is the paramount currency on earth for a reason, because you can turn it in for gold or whatever. It's not going to have to be pumped up, inflated, $100 bill worth $1,000 next week, or $1,000 face value. I think that he's really got to have some achievements, though, for this 100 days, if only symbolically. And I think you hit it when you noted the economy, but more dramatically, immigration, in my view. There is no, maybe Governor Sununu would agree with me on this, there is no issue, I think, in which the difference between Biden and Trump has been more dramatically, glaringly apparent than immigration. Trump has succeeded wildly with the draconian policies and hard-ass, cruelty almost. And yet he has reversed, where compassion maybe has caused more heartache in the long term than cruelty. And
his numbers counter-wise, we know, are great. We've showed them over and over at the border, Governor. But I wonder if some of this stuff that Geraldo's alluding to, and the deportation controversies, Abrego Garcia on, is hurting the president, whereas he's not getting the credit for the other stuff.
No, let me tell you something. The Republicans love the issue of the issue of this MS-13 gentleman,
I agree.
the Marylander, as we call him,
I think they love it.
down in El Salvador.
How do you think it's actually playing?
Oh, the average American is seeing the Democrat Party fighting hard to support an MS-13 gang member, illegal immigrant in El Salvador, and paying very little attention to, individuals who've been raped and murdered and abused by these illegals here. So the more the Democrats want to fight for those folks, God bless them. That's great. We love that as Republicans, because the average working American is not going to galvanize and be persuaded by that. That's exactly what got the Democrat Party into trouble in the first place, and why the immigration issue is so strong. One argument, look, the argument I make make is this. People say, why is the president taking such drastic measures? Because Biden let the most drastic tragedy happen on the border. This is Biden's fault. This is absolutely Joe Biden's fault because of what he let happen over 4 years. Yes, the response was going to be so aggressive, and guess what? Americans are supportive of that aggressive response. So thank you for Joe Biden for highlighting a problem so bad that America is saying finally someone is standing up. And as much as Democrats want to support these illegal gang members, good luck. I don't know who their PR people are, but it ain't going to help them come November.
You agree with all that, Geraldo?
Well, I think that very importantly, you have a situation where there is the process and there is the issue of the inflammatory issue of the gangsters, the gangbangers, and supporting them and all the rest of that. What is on the line here and what the Democrats need to do, and you and I spoke about this last week, Connell, what the Democrats need to do is say this is not about that one gangster. This is about the dignity, the power, the reach, the authority of the law, of the system of laws in this country. We're a country of laws. The law was not followed by the Republicans in this, by the Trump administration. They broke their own law. That's the party of the Republicans, especially the party of the law keepers. They broke the law when they sent this man away, when they knew he had a due process hearing. That was his right, his right. The right of anyone who's, stands on this ground of the sacred ground of the United States of America. He gets due process. Everybody gets due process. And when Trump's trying to beat due process, then I think the Democrats can deflate that very, very effective immigration issue.
Pick up on that, Governor. And the other thing the Democrats are doing, we had this today on the economy. So it's the economy and immigration. The one thing they are doing in the economy, Gavin Newsom started this with a lawsuit, but now there's like 12 states today suing him on the tariffs. I mean, I don't know if that's a way, because it's a weak, as we just showed.
Yeah, that's mostly political. Yeah, that's a lot of political nonsense. That's states and certain governors and I get obviously why Gavin's doing it. He wants to kind of elevate himself to the president's level, and he's taking him on. I think Geraldo brings up a really great point. And so here's the thing that's been missing. Where's the immigration reform bill? The one that we've been waiting for 25 years. From Democrats or Republicans, I don't care. They're both falling down on it. But what a perfect time to bring forth an immigration reform bill that deals with all of these issues that just haven't been dealt with in a modernized way.
The one that Trump killed in the campaign, or a different one?
It could be anyone, right? That's the point. Where's the Democrats' version of the bill or the Republican version of the bill? Anyone. There's a huge vacuum here for someone to come up and clean up the mess, because no matter how many folks that get deported and how strong we close the border, that's great. We all agree that the legal ports of entry have to be expanded, that there has to be better opportunities. We have to deal with the visa issues. And again, it's only the first 100 days of the administration, but I think this is an amazing opportunity, and I don't care what party it comes from, for someone to say, we're going to clarify all this stuff that has just been amorphously gray in what I would argue are potentially very politicized courts on both sides, right? Because they go judge shopping. You know, people think that they randomly get a judge. These battles are picked very strategically by those that are fighting them in specific courts that are going to be politically beneficial to their cause. So at the end of the day, I think that system needs to be cleaned up, and a huge vacuum and opportunity for someone to close the gap on immigration.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.